Hello, today I'll explain 5 technical questions. Let's start with the first. The first question is very simple. It asks, when the EIGRP protocol receives 2 routes to the same destination from different paths, 2 identical routes from different paths, then which parameter should we refer to in order to decide which route becomes the best path? In EIGRP, there is no concept of cost, right? We also don't refer to S-path. S-path is something used by the BGP protocol. What we need to refer to is between different routes, the administrative distance, or AD. So, for routes from the same protocol, different routes from the same protocol, that is, different parts of the same protocol, what we refer to is the metric value. So the correct answer is C. Let's look at the correct answer. The answer is C. Alright, let's move on to the second question. The second question says, an engineer is configuring OSPF neighbors, specifically setting the OSPF neighbor as the designated router, which is D2. So which state can verify this D2? That is, the neighbor relationship between me and D2 is in the normal state. So whether it's the other router or the DBDR router, as long as they establish a neighbor relationship with D2, their neighbor state will be full state. So for this question, the answer is D. Let's check the correct answer is D. Alright, on to the third question. The third question involves route matching. Route matching, which is a concept in this question, means that when we want to send traffic to a certain destination, which route will it choose? There are 4 routes in the routing table here, right? And this question has subnetting, specifically route matching. Based on the longest prefix match principle, we choose the one with a 27-bit mask. The longest prefix match principle means that the longer the subnet mask, the more precise the match. So the correct answer to this question is D. The correct answer is D. Alright, question 4. So for question 4, it's actually also a route matching question. It says, if you configure a static route on a router node, that this static route is set so that any destination will go through this next hopson later. You add an administrative distance to it. The question is, what change will happen to the routing table? There is already a default route in the routing table that comes from OSPF, which is distributed by the OSPF protocol. The administrative distance for OSPF is 110, while the one we configure is 120. So this is a floating static route, meaning that when the primary route fails, this one will take over, right? So the correct answer to this question is D. It will ignore the new route we just configured and will only appear after the OSPF route becomes invalid. The correct answer is D. Let's look at the correct answer. It's D. Alright, question 5. Question 5 has a diagram and it's a multiple choice question. The meaning of question 5 is to look at this diagram, and currently, OSPF neighbors cannot be established between 1 and 3 or between 2 and 3. So what is the cause of this problem? There are several options below. There are 4 options here. Actually, there's also an option E, and in fact, there's an F as well. The correct answers are actually D and F. D and F. D and F. Now let's talk about the first option. It says that the reason these two devices are not neighbors is because all routers need to be configured in area 1 as the backbone area. That's incorrect. The backbone area is area 0. As for option B, its mistake lies in the D2 specifically. It says that 21 and 22 are not D2 or PDR. The error here is in how D2 is selected. It's not based on the node, but rather on the interface. The selection of D2 is based on the interface, not the device itself. So for this question, you should choose D2. On every lincoln, each link between them, there will be a D2. And if you look at this diagram, it means there's a switch here, and everyone is connected to this switch. So are 21 and 22 D2S in this case. Whether 21 and 23 can form a neighbor relationship has nothing to do with this. So this option is also incorrect. Another incorrect one is option E. This option says that all these routers have configured the administrative distance for EIGRP, but OSPF and EIGRP have nothing to do with each other, right? They are independent, and there is no conflict in this logical plane. And then there's another incorrect option, which is C. It says that routers 1 and 3 have configured a static route, but this static routing is just like the EIGRP option in this question. OSPF and the static routing protocols operate on separate, independent logical planes, so there won't be any conflict between them. So the correct answers for this question are D and F. But there's an issue with this question. D, E, and F are all on the same line. So we just need to select just check D, and that's enough. Actually, you should know that E is incorrect. Alright, let's look at the correct answer. Okay, submit. If you want to learn Cisco technologies or get access to Cisco question banks, feel free to send me a private message, or you can leave a comment below the video to discuss technical topics.